Clerk will read the caption to House Resolution 965.
House Resolution 965 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, Lott of the 122nd, Prince of the 127th, Fry of the 118th, Gonzalez of the 117th, and others, recognizing and commending law enforcement officers and prosecutors who work diligently to ensure the protection of Georgia's vulnerable adult population and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes the Chairman of the Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee, Chairman Alan Powell, for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and ladies and gentlemen of the House. You know, first, before I say a few words about this distinguished group, I want to say thank you, Eunice. It is live long, don't die young, folks, and she's absolutely right. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, House Resolution 965, we're honoring some very special people today, but while they're only the example of the public safety the public safety officers and prosecutors that we have, this is really to honor all of our public safety officers and prosecutors who've done such a great job in enforcing the will and the policies of the General Assembly about working to stop the offenses against some of our most vulnerable citizens, senior citizens. And as I look out there and I see a lot of senior citizens out here, y'all ought to love what they're doing because they're protecting y'all. I want to introduce Director Vernon Keenan, and I'm going to let him say a word or two about the achievements of these outstanding districts, both the Western Circuit over in Athens and the Augusta Circuit and what they're doing down there. But Vernon, as the director of the GBI, I told him earlier today he's older than dirt and doesn't need a whole lot of introductions. But Vernon started his career in law enforcement in 1972, went to the GBI back in the 70s, and then he's been there ever since. He's been the director since 2003 and is probably an investigator's investigator. Not only is he in charge of the GBI, but also a few special units such as the Fusion Unit and oversight for GSACs. With that, I want to introduce and turn this over to Director Keenan.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman Powell. Mr. Speaker and members of the House, I want to thank you in two areas. On behalf of Georgia law enforcement and prosecutors, I want to thank you for enacting some of the toughest laws in the nation that protect the elderly and disabled persons. And I also want to thank you for recognizing the men and women that are up here with me today, because of the great work that they have done in protecting the elderly and disabled persons. And we have a group from Athens who investigated and prosecuted a case which we refer to as the slave house, in which there were seven disabled persons warehoused. They were locked in the basement, they were abused, they were neglected, and they were harmed greatly. They lived in despicable conditions, and all of this was for the purpose of stealing their benefits. But the Athens prosecutors and law enforcement rescued these seven people, prosecuted the perpetrator, who received a 40-year sentence. Also, I have with us a group from Augusta, and I want to thank District Attorney Natalie Payne from the Augusta Judicial Circuit, because she organized what is called the CAVE Unit. And the CAVE Unit stands for Crimes Against Vulnerable and Elderly. And this is a group which is made up of representatives from the Sheriff's Office, the Coroner, the Sheriff's Office, investigators, the Marshal's Office, the Fire Department. And collectively, they come together and work as a team to protect the elderly and disabled persons in their community. And since they have been operating for the last few months, they have closed 5 licensed care homes and arrested the operators. And they have also closed 8 unlicensed care homes and arrested those operators. In total, they have rescued over 40 elderly and disabled persons in their community. Thank you, Chairman Powell and Mr. Speaker and members of this body for recognizing these great men and women who work the streets every day protecting the elderly and disabled persons.